Pass the 40 cause my mother's not looking.
What's going on, everyone? Back with another Past the 40. My guest today is Tandy Gutierrez. How you doing, Tandy?
I am excellent.
Good. As am I. We're off to a great start then. Where are you joining us from today?
I am joining you from Carroll Gardens in Brooklyn, New York.
I have heard of that neighborhood before, and we'll get to that in 1 second. When did you turn 40?
May 2nd this year.
All right. How's it going so far?
I love it. I'm probably one of the nerdiest people alive. I was so excited to be 40 that I think other people thought I'd lost my mind. So I love it.
We're going to get to that in a minute, too. So before you start answering every single one of my questions before we even ask them, let's just get right into it. Are you ready for your 40?
Absolutely.
All right. So first thing, are we neighbors?
We are totally neighbors, and we didn't know it until we've emailed about 10 times.
And the bad thing about that is you are leaving Carroll Gardens very shortly, and I'm not currently in Carroll Gardens, so we're not doing this from our neighborly confines of Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn. But we do live a few blocks away, we just realized last night.
So I was cracking up because you probably walk past our house every day that you walk to work and go to your office. And I thought, I can't, how did we connect in the first place? I don't remember at this point. And then your office is literally a stumble out my door. And we're doing this interview, yet we are not in the same neighborhood right now.
Right. I basically do every one of these interviews from said office a few steps down from you. Instead, I'm in a 1980s throwback in my sister-in-law's childhood bedroom in Roslyn, Long Island at the moment. We are Long Island dwelling for the week.
I love it. I love it. I think it's hysterical because it's perfect. It's perfect right now.
Back to what you were saying before, I noticed that you had written somewhere, I think on Facebook maybe, I'm delighted to be 40. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this birthday. This is so on brand for this this whole project that we're doing here. Why do you feel this way?
I feel I'm what I call a couch astrologer. I do some and integrate astrology with my clients. And I'm a Taurus sun, but Tauruses are late bloomers. So I felt like this birthday was one that I was finally comfortable in and that lended a lot of validity to me in the world. And I know that sounds really weird. I've had a great career, always been in a great circle of visibility and credibility, but I felt like when it comes to wellness and health things, that often people don't listen, when they feel like you haven't experienced certain things yet. Also keeping in mind that my age had nothing to do with my experience with my health problems and issues and two babies and autoimmune diseases and a lot of injuries from dancing. But 40 was just really exciting to me because I felt like, whoop, that's a grown-up, okay. I felt like turning 40, once I turned 40, it was just permission to be completely unapologetic about who I was, what I did, what I believed in, and it was kind of like somebody gave me just my full voice. It's not if you ask people, they wouldn't think I was shy, per se, but I think before this birthday, I was very extra courteous to other people at the expense of my personal voice. And so I felt like 40 was right on, we're done. Go loud or go home or, step outside the circle, it's fine.
How did you celebrate your 40th birthday?
Okay, it was chaos. We tried to do this weekend away in Montauk because I'd never been to Montauk. Our family is a beach family, so the fact that we've spent so much time in New York proper and in Brooklyn is kind of hysterical. So I was like, I want this birthday to be what I want it to be. I'm an introvert. I want to go to the ocean. It's clearly not beach weather. And so we planned to, take the train out, spend a couple days, and it's quiet and desolate then. And I can't even remember, but it was just we were in the process of relaunching the site, and it just kept being on, off, on, off, on, off. And that day that we were supposed to leave for my birthday was we had issues. We had to stay in town with a really good internet connection to solve for the site to stay live. Like, this was like, the keys are missing, nobody can leave the building.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I was like, I'm trying not to be upset. I'm trying not to be upset. This is my birthday. I'm trying not to be upset. And so we just kept pushing off our leave time, and like, we're packed, and like, just sitting by the front door waiting for a certain phone call. And finally at 4:00, I was like, we're just going. We're going. We're getting on that damn train and we're going to go. And so we ended up spending like 18 hours there out of like a 48-hour trip. And I was like, okay, we did it,
You got a little beach for your birthday at the least.
Exactly.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a performer.
And what is Unicorn Wellness? You mentioned the site a couple times. How does it differ from other wellness, programs or studios out there?
UnicornWellness.studio is our online wellness center. So it's a subscription-based site that we launched 5 years ago. It's had 2 other names as it grew and evolved. And essentially, it's personal training with me. So there's nothing else like it on the internet. And that's true. It still holds true after 5 years. My husband and I built the platform. The original idea was his, and I produce all the content. So the workouts are macro and micro cycled on the back end, just as they would be if you were my personal training client. They're 30-minute mat-based workouts, so mostly Pilates and yoga, but a lot of functional training in them. They're built to create body balance over the long term, so they're not plug and play. Like, you come and you press play on the site as if you walked into my studio or I walked into your home that day. So it's about service and like having an expert to take care of you, instead of it being, I'm going to pick what I like or what I think I need to be doing today. The workouts are also written in accordance to the moon cycles. So they follow a 4-week cycle of, the new moon is energetically where we are all wired to rest and restore. And so that's a constructive rest week of all stretching. And then during the new moon, we all get a little extra dose of amplified energy. And so that's the week that you're asked to push the hardest in the workouts. So there's another layer to it that I look at the astrology of the collective, because those energies influence our bodies and our wellness. So I am choosing exercises to physically, mentally, and energetically balance the body within the particular time frame.
So every single member has their own unique workout schedule or routine?
No. So this is the thing, and this is where it gets like, okay. So they're general workouts. I teach a multi-level class every time, but they are macro and micro cycled in perpetuity. So when someone joins, they simply enter the flow. It's like entering a group class, but again, group fitness, I've worked in that industry for years, is not macro and micro cycled. So it's not that each member has a specific program. They all hop into the same one, but it does speak in perpetuity one to the next. On top of that, members can email me and say, hey, I have a shoulder issue. Hey, I have a low back issue. I've been dealing with plantar fasciitis for 15 years. Then I will drop custom folders in their account and assign them homework for 4 to 8 weeks on how to balance and heal those things within the flow to catch them up.
How do you define someone who is a unicorn?
Unicorns are the seekers and the purists of heart. They are people that truly strive to cultivate magic in their lives and in the lives of people around them. They're always focused on the optimistic side of things, looking for hope and potential and trying to plant it and grow it, but also dealing with the real life issues of food, water, shelter. If there's a really terrible, crappy situation, let's be honest about that. But how can we make it better?
What is something that you're currently curious about?
Oh, currently curious about. I I'm more and more curious about astrology, even though I do practice it. I think the wider and the deeper applications of it per person as a collective fascinate me right now.
What is a great piece of advice that you've been given that has really stuck with you?
My aunt, and this isn't that long ago, but man, it's been loud, and I keep going back to it. Mm-hmm. They had a motel in South Dakota at like the base of Mount Rushmore for forever, and they sold it and built a house in the woods, like to retire, and are really excited about it. And when we started talking about traveling and being nomadic again, she goes, everybody deserves their house in the woods. And I thought, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. And it was just the phrasing of it, of being in that space where you feel safe and calm and comfortable, and like yourself. And I just thought, yeah, that's not earth-shattering, but it was. It was like, just stop. Like, stop. I mean, along the lines of turning 40 and just being your true, unique self. I mean, that's what a unicorn is being your truly unique you. And here I was still trying to justify or analyze what we as a family are seeing and feeling as our comfort zone and our safety and our happiness and our joy.
We're going to get to that nomadic lifestyle in a few minutes for sure. If you could have a drink with one fictional character, who would it be?
Lorelai Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls.
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with her work specifically, but I do know the Gilmore Girls exist. But I kind of missed that one. Why her?
Because she's just this sassy female, wonderful character that she's a unicorn, And I look at her and I go, You're my sister, and I just want to sit down and go have that like camaraderie about it of cool. Kind of being sarcastic and sassy, but hopeful and keep going.
Cool. What's a piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
To listen to your intuition more. To know that you're right for you, and you don't need to agree with everybody else, and they don't have to agree with you. I think if I had been a little more fearless in that time frame and more committed to my own intuition.
What's something you tried that you would never, ever try again?
I don't know. I don't feel that way about anything. I would try things again, like, okay, you know what? Marriage. Like, this one's the one. I'm not doing it again.
That's a strong answer, taking the question in a kind of different way than most people, but it makes a lot of sense. If you won the lottery tomorrow, what are 3 things that you would do with the money?
I would buy a property in Spain and have it be the forever home and something that could also function as a retreat for teaching. There is a non-for-profit that my friend founded to help families adopt children that I would donate to. I'm adopted myself in a bit of a pay it forward sort of situation. And third thing, my current assistant, I would bring her on full time and like triple her salary.
Make sure she doesn't see this. And
she knows. I tell her all the time, like, you can't leave because it's going to happen. You just have to stick around for it.
If you could have personally witnessed an event in history, what would you want to have go back and see?
This question is interesting because the answer that I came up with is so odd. Like, the first thing, I would want to see the Eiffel Tower being built, which I know does not serve a grand purpose, but I just think it would be fascinating. I mean, the structure of it and the time frame, I think just would have been like, what is happening? It would be like aliens landing.
It's interesting. Is there a reason that you picked that? Like, obviously, there are a number of famous structures around the world. Is there a reason that that's the one that stands out to you?
I love Paris. I love it. It feels magical. I know so many people do say that, but being there, it was just like, there's something magical about it for my particular soul. And I think because it's in like that center, everything's in circles, that it just seemed like it would have been like watching aliens land, because everything was pretty flat and low. And here in the middle of everything, it's this crazy tall structure and this kind of like steampunk mentality of like new technologies they hadn't seen before. I think it would have looked like magic happening.
Totally. Very cool. Good answer. If you could give a TED Talk on any subject, what would that be?
I think it would really be about the integration of soul and body and this idea of fitness versus wellness. This is what I teach, so this would just make sense that in the culture as it stands now, we train a body, we beat it into submission and act like it's something to fight, when really it's built perfectly. And when we start to work with it and learn to love it and integrate it, that's when transition and physical transition and healing takes place. So kind of looking at healing and wellness from both the mind, body, and spirit in a different perspective. Like your soul is, your body is a home of your soul. And so we know, in theory, that we're a spiritual being having a physical experience, and that the physical body is the vessel. And then we talk about, well, our body isn't ourselves. And we know that, especially for women and perspectives in our culture. It's like, whatever size we are, really, it does not matter. However, your soul actually doesn't know the difference between itself and the physical body. So if you're treating your physical body that are abusive or unhealthy, your soul suffers to an extent. And so to really look at it and integrate it in a more comprehensive and empathetic way of going, you don't just have to be spiritual and woo-woo or a yogi on the mountain, that when you get into spirituality concepts, that the better you treat the vessel, the better the energetic and the soul portion of it's going to be. And I just don't feel like that conversation really gets had. It gets, approached from the yogi, like, awakening ascension perspective, and then the body's kind of left off to the side. Meanwhile, we have a 3D incarnation. We have a body. Like, we're very physical. So we keep trying to separate these things, and it's like they don't work until you integrate them.
Is that something that you teach in Unicorn Wellness?
It is. I feel like a softer, lighter approach to it. Like people who are on the mat with me, it's like, just come press play and do your workouts. Like it's 30 minutes and, 4 to 7 times a week. It's very gentle. But there's guided meditation and monthly tarot readings to help start integrate that self evaluation and also collective consciousness evaluation. If we're not thinking about how we integrate with each other, but the only thing we can ever change and address is ourselves. That's it. That's all we can control. And control being very loosely used.
Sure.
And so the change starts here. It's, be the change. And we do live in a physical world. We are a physical body. We have to function, food, water, shelter. But if we ignore the soul side of ourselves, which I believe as a culture we've done pretty good for quite a long time, that it's time for integration to really make, creative solutions and progress and move forward, and quite frankly, to survive.
What are you most excited about right now?
I am excited about 2 things. So one, my family and I are leaving in just a few days to travel. And I'm really excited about being nomadic again. And 2, we just relaunched the branding at unicornwellness.studio. So I'm really excited about being able to speak in what I consider my full voice of teaching. So again, like you asked about the TED Talk. And so I feel like I've been riding the rails of fitness and wellness without the spiritual woo-woo side. And now it's like, I just get to say all of it. So I'm really delighted about that.
So those are 2 huge life things going on there. We talked about one a little bit. I want to get into the traveling. So where are you going and what's the plan?
Okay, we are going to Barcelona, and we will be based there for 3 months. We know that we're going to take some side trips to Valencia and Granada. And then after 3 months, we'll head to London for 3 to 6 months with some little side trips there as well. We've done this once before. We went 2 years ago. We planned to travel for a year. We made it about 9 months and ended up back in New York. And so the plan right now is a little bit that we don't have a plan. We feel like as a family, we get like committed to these big things and then feel disappointed that we didn't finish them or that it took a different turn. And we really do try to listen to the universe and the signs and the symbols and just go with the flow. We feel like as a family, we may end up in Spain long term, but we're just going to go check it out. Like we're just going to go see.
Awesome. I love it. And I assume that when people think about this, one major roadblock is what am I going to do with my kids as far as school goes? So like, are the kids going to school while you guys are away? Are they being homeschooled? And how old are they?
So our kids are 7 and 11. I have a stepson that he doesn't live with us. He's in college, but he comes to visit wherever we are in the world. But the boys, Milo and Sam, are 7 and 11. The last time we did a round of unschooling, so it's homeschooling, but very loose. This time and I don't get, this isn't a plug, I'm just sharing it because I think this site is brilliant. LaurelSprings.com, it's actually an online private school. So you pay for them to go to private school. They handle all the curriculum. There's about 4,200 students. And it's usually kids like in the entertainment industry, or the way we found it is friends of friends ski on the Olympic ski team, and they're young. And so they all use Laurel Springs. And so we thought, well, if it's good enough for the Olympic ski team, that this helped us fill in the gaps of keeping structure. They keep records, and the boys have a tutor online, live, Monday through Friday. I mean, it's really neat. I look at it as like the school version of what we've created with Unicorn Wellness, because they've taken something, made it accessible, made it totally, cost effective, and used the best part of the internet and technology.
Awesome. And what happens 1 year from now? Is there a home base? Is Carroll Gardens the home base, or you just kind of figure it out however you're feeling, 9 months, 12 months from now, and be like, all right, now we're going to go do this?
The real answer is probably the latter of, hang on. The real answer is probably the latter of, we just kind of see how the winds blow a bit, but we do have a storage unit here in Carroll Gardens. We absolutely believe that New York is our home in the United States. We have family here. Like we have, friends who are really the family unit. And the kids have really close, friendships here, as do I. So we may be back in New York and it's home base for the U.S., but we do have a feeling that this time we might not be back.
You're open to a choose your own adventure ending a year from now. Awesome. Let's say, aside from this trip, without your family, you had to go on a road trip from Carroll Gardens to Scottsdale, Arizona, and you have to bring 3 people with you. Who are they?
All of my girlfriends that live in different places. So Vanessa, who is currently my assistant, she's amazing and magical. But she lives in Austin, so I never see her. My very best girlfriend, Emily, she lives in Seattle, and I see her about once a year. And then I have a friend, Emma, who lives in Bristol, UK, outside of London, and rarely see her. So I would put all of us in a car.
Are the 3 of them friends? Would the car chemistry be proper right off the bat?
No.
All right, that could get dicey.
They are. I think this is kind of the unicorn spirit, of like put 4 unicorns in a car and everybody's going to be like, yeah, like they'll figure out each other's magic and totally honor it. Yeah.
Of course, all be best friends by the end.
Yeah.
What 3 words would Emily or Vanessa or Emma, what would they use to describe you?
Focused, driven, and magical.
Focused, driven, and magical. So you would identify as a unicorn.
Absolutely.
Of course. Is there a common problem that you see in people when starting with you in unicorn wellness, like an issue that you can easily point to and say, oh, that's it right there?
In general, yes. I see, like, I've been teaching and training within the span of 20 plus years. And so as people, it's just resistance. Resistance to being wrong, I think, is the biggest one. Because people will come in with health or physical issues needing to be healed, saying they want to make progress, but resisting doing anything differently. And so I find, again, why this transition and this identity with unicorns is like, when you meet somebody who goes, I don't care, I'm totally willing to be wrong, just please, like, I feel like this is the place where I need to be, I trust you, I trust what I'm feeling here, let's try this. That's when transformation and change and goals and manifestation and healing happen. And so the people, culture, we don't like change. We fear the unknown, and it's difficult and uncomfortable. But those little spirits that can embrace the discomfort because they are so committed to the outcome, yeah.
Those are the clients that we want.
Right?
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Oh my goodness. My son asked me this the other day. He was like, what job do you hate? And I was like, oh, okay. I haven't hated many, but I had one out of college where I was like, somebody's front desk, like, assistant, like a temp. Mm-hmm. It was awful. I felt like it was just awful. I was alone. It was not fun. You didn't talk to anybody. It was like, I had moved to the East Bay and I didn't know anybody. It was just awful. It was a lovely place, but it was terrible. I felt like my little soul, like, there was no sparkle, there was no magic, and it was
not the right environment to breed unicorns.
Not at all.
What does your diet look like?
My diet looks super clean. Mine kind of has to be. So I have 3 autoimmune diseases. I have celiac. And the hugest upswing is in food. So in the mornings, I eat a ton of grains, a lot of root veggies, and pasture-raised eggs. And the afternoon, usually I do smoothies. So it's kind of upside down for me because I'm lazy. My digestion gets a little funky. So I do more berry smoothies with grass-fed collagen, and raw honey and bee pollen in the afternoons. And then I eat clean animal proteins. I have to. And so I love lamb. I love white rice and just tons of greens and veggies. Dinner usually looks like fish or lamb.
What would you have for your last meal?
My last meal? Oh, it would be lamb. It's such a blood-rich food that my little body's like, yes, thank you. And it's rich and it feels indulgent and, like, special. I'm totally a fan of mezcal and blanco tequilas, so it would, be celebratory. And every once in a while I can get away with a gorgeous creme brulee. So, like, if it's my last meal,
gotta go for it.
That's totally happening.
When your kids turn 40, how do you want them to finish the sentence? The most important thing my mom taught me was blank.
To really listen to their intuition. It goes back to what I wish I had given myself. Like, I don't want them to feel bound by other people's opinions, not even their parents. I don't want them to feel bound to the structures of a culture, of a society, if they don't agree with it. I want them to feel free in their choices and empowered to make change.
Awesome. I hope that's exactly how they answer it. When I interviewed them on this podcast in 29 years for your oldest, what is something or someone that most people love but you think a little overrated?
Oh, Well, I think the basic terrible answer is probably the Kardashians. That, or I'm just gonna like apologize now to other listeners because I do like veganism. Honestly, that's a whole nother thing, and I wrote about it in my handbook. But I think that it gets overrated and really misunderstood, and so. There's the practical answer and then the cultural answer where I'm like, oh my God, if I see one more bit of Kardashian.
I think both answers make a ton of sense. What is a skill that you want to acquire in the next 40 years?
To fluently speak another language or two.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So you're off to a good start. Are you going to take any lessons when you're abroad, or is it just kind of immerse yourself in the day-to-day?
No, what we learned last time was that we need a tutor and to be able to take lessons. When we traveled, it was awesome, but once people knew that we spoke English, they wanted to practice their English. So it was a crutch. We did not end up learning as much as I thought we would. And so we definitely, it's on the list for this go-round to hire a teacher for the household.
Where were you the last time you traveled?
We based in Madrid last time. We spent like 5 days in Barcelona. And then we did Paris and Segovia and San Juan.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid I won't accomplish the things that I want to by the time my time on this planet in this incarnation is finished. I'm not afraid of the things I used to be, like failure, because, man, we have failed and made mistakes and stumbled and have really been through some things in this household as a family and as people, and we just do keep coming out stronger because of it. I'm just worried that I'll miss, my work somehow by not, I don't know, just not having enough time.
There's a quote that I've said to guests on here before who have said similar answers, and I try to adhere by it, but it's tough. And then in the same regard, but it's you don't need more time. You need to decide.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that, but I'm cantankerous and I argue with a lot.
Listen, I hear you. It's hard. I have list of books and places and everything and restaurants, and I want to see them all, but like the reality is I'm not going to. So you gotta really prioritize.
There's no way.
Yeah.
So this is totally it where I'm like, yes and no, because there are only so many hours in the day. You do have to deal with a physical body and a vessel. And for me in particular, I do have to manage energy and energy expenditure and recovery time differently than other people do because of the autoimmune issues. Right. And so I do worry about time. And meanwhile, people are like, I cannot believe the amount of content you produce on a consistent basis. And it is like, there's a line in Hamilton. We talked offline about my kids being obsessed with Hamilton. Mm-hmm. And, one of the lines in it is, why do you write like you're running out of time? Because he felt called to do things and to create things, and he was a little OCD and obsessed about it. And I find myself in that same place at times.
I mean, it makes a ton of sense. Who is your celebrity crush, if you have one?
I don't have one. Is that a terrible answer?
If that's the truth, and that's what it is.
It really is. Sometimes these, like, who's your hero and celebrity crushes, I go, the reality is, and it sounds cheesy, but it's totally genuine and truthful, is that I'm married to my crush. And maybe he'll be a celebrity someday.
There you go. He's a celebrity in your household, and that's all that matters.
That's right.
What is a quirk of yours that few people know about?
Oh.
Or at least one that I don't know about.
I'm a little OCD, and I think people don't see that, like how type A I am, but I teach, better is better, and I teach flow and kind of like the perfection detox because you teach what you need to learn often, like what's been the stumbling block. So I'm very, I can get very anxious about things or anxiety. And so by having like a really clear schedule and kind of structure, like I have to meditate first thing in the morning, and like doing things in a certain order is like those in the inner circle, they know. And sometimes they like it and sometimes they don't. Sure. But I think people who see me from the outside is like, oh, she's pretty mellow about things or pretty calm. And it's like, yeah, because I did everything in the right order before I got to you.
Totally. If you could relive a single day from your past exactly as it happened the first time, what would you choose to experience all over again?
Again, I know this is going to come as a little bit of a cheesy answer, but it's the truth. It's the birth of my first son. It was unbelievable. Just the process. He came really fast. It was kind of hysterical. We got pulled over by the cops on the way to the hospital. It was like totally a movie. That Mateo was like, but my wife is in labor, and then
did they escort you the rest of the way?
They didn't have to, because where we turned, it was like 5 feet from the hospital. Right. But it was like, midnight in LA. There's nobody on the street. And I'm like literally in labor. And Mateo's like, you have got to be kidding me. And so, so it was just kind of nutty. And I feel like I would love to not change anything because it was great. But just to experience it again, to be a little bit more present for it, which, any parent, even the daddies, like, you're so overwhelmed with the process of it that you feel like it goes so fast that you miss it.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Best or great compliment that you received that has, really stuck with you?
Okay, it's silly, but it has always stuck with me, and I remember it all the time, of that my cueing as a teacher is not annoying.
Your cueing?
Yeah, like when you're teaching and the cueing that you give to people, and I have heard it many times over the years, but I always laugh at that because people think it's a weird compliment, but as a teacher, I go, yes, because you'll take sessions with people and you're like, oh my God, their voice is so annoying. Like, I cannot go back to class because it irritates me. Okay.
I know exactly what you mean. I've been in classes where I've come home and said to my wife, like, this was so annoying because all I could think about is the way that the teacher said inhale or exhale.
Yes!
Like, the accents that they put on the simple words are just like that's where my mind was.
It like kills the whole thing. So
Totally.
Even if the exercises and the craftsmanship of the flow and the process was wonderful and your body feels great, your brain cannot get out of it. You're like, I'm not paying to do that again.
What is something that all 40-year-olds should go and do or try ASAP?
They should all try being a unicorn, like right now.
Absolutely.
I do. I teach what I believe, you know, and I do think that. I think that we are resistant to looking at things in a fresh way. I think as a culture, we don't know how to be students anymore. We are such a culture that embraces, like, our coffee order, right? Like, I'm going to tweak it in all the ways that I want it. And we feel, as a culture, empowered to have things exactly the way we want. And I think it's really important to start having a shift and having teachers and mentors again, and learning how to be students and learning how to be taken care of and in a receiving space also. And I teach what I believe the world needs and what I feel like is necessary to help facilitate us towards the better. So I would love to see people, you know, everybody who turns 40 go, I'm going to try this again, like without resistance. Instead of going, I don't do yoga, I don't do Pilates, I'm not a unicorn. That just sounds silly. I'm not going to work out online because I need the social aspect. All of those things that you resist when you turn 40, just try.
Couldn't be more with you. That's just like such a fixed mindset. People are like, oh, I don't, or I can't. Like, this is not me. I'm not good at math, or I'm not good at Pilates, or whatever. It's ridiculous.
And our children are adopting it too. You know, it's like, when did we become people that think we should be excellent and masters at things straight out of the gate? Mastery requires practice. Yep. You become proficient because of repetition. You don't achieve mastery in definition until you've done something for 10 years. So this idea that a lot of it does, you know, get pegged on technology and our media, is that we see people at the pinnacles of their careers because then they're interesting to interview and to share. And this whole idea of overnight sensations is false.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to be an expert at something, if you want to have mastery, you have to start doing it and practicing, and you need to be willing to be terrible at it for a long time.
Absolutely. If you were hosting this podcast, what's a question that you would want to ask to other 40-year-olds?
I would straight up ask, what is the thing you resist doing the most? Like, what do you, and like, what do you resist doing the most? Because that's where you need to head that direction.
Now that you have experience as a parent, what is something looking back that your parents did really well?
We traveled, and we really did. And my mom and dad, it's a funny question because I know everybody's family is complicated. Mine has an extra 17 layers of complicated to it, but my mom was very intent on not treating us like children. We were not talked down to. We were included in the dinner table conversation, and she was very big on us not having a lot of babysitters, not out of martyrdom, but out of wherever I'm going, my children will go. And if it's an adult space, meaning like high-end places or dinners or, then they need to learn how to participate in those spaces appropriately. Sure. So I feel like that totally.
What is a spiritual ritual of yours that you think others can easily implement in their own lives?
Well, the tarot cards. I mean, I think it's so simple, and even before the tarot cards, oracle cards, because oracle cards are so beautiful and just straightforward in their messaging that I think it's a wonderful practice to have a deck that you just shuffle at some point in the day and pull one, and it can be a question, or you just pull a card and let your mind play with that for the day. Like, how does that influence my day? How does that change my perspective on the day?
I'm not familiar with oracle cards. What would be on an oracle card?
Yeah, so tarot cards are a specific deck of 78. You have major and minor arcana, like a deck of cards. They follow a suit, mm-hmm. and they each have a meaning to it that's similar for every tarot deck. Oracle cards can be anything. So, like, I have a deck that an artist made. They're watercolor pictures. Like, they're not... they look a lot like ink blots, like they're just beautiful. And then she has words on them, like cozy or warrior or gazelling or Maitri. And so you can pull them and go, how is that going to influence my day? Okay. Do I need to warrior through my day today? Do I need to surrender to today? Can I put more magic in my day? So whatever comes up on an oracle card is super straightforward, like face value. There are thousands of decks, and they're any kind of topic or flavor, like there's a Star Wars deck, so it's like things that speak to you that you're like, oh, that'd be fun. There's animal symbolism. Bringing in, the oracle decks allows us to start integrating our analytical brains, because there's a picture, there's a word, and you go, okay, what does this mean, just straightforward, to integrate it with our intuitive and our heart sense of how do I feel about this, what calls to me about this, how can I integrate this in my day, and how can it shift and shape my day. We were all reacting to life, and instead of, instigating ourselves and propelling ourselves in the world. And the oracle cards or a tarot deck, tarot takes a little bit more learning curve. That small bit of really getting anchored into something bigger than ourselves, but utterly grounding in us. What are our choices? What are our perspectives? How do I feel? Does this card piss me off? Ooh, maybe I need to think about that,
Is this something that you do every day? You always have cards with you?
Yeah, I do.
Cool. We're down to our last question here. What did you choose as the song to end this episode and play us out of here, and why?
I totally chose Space Unicorn.
Okay.
It's by Perry Grip. This was something that was sent to me from a friend for my kids, And he's a children's musician, and they're very cartoony and funny. But this song, we played it, and I thought, this is my personal walk-up music, this is it, because this is how I feel. It's a little silly, it's kind of out there, but it's a tune you keep repeating, and I am superhuman, there are days that I am depressed and distressed about the status of our world. And I have children, and it's hard to parent and to hold everybody's emotional space and your own. And this song is so wonderfully charming and silly that I feel like you just can't be in a bad mood. You just got to listen to it and go, somebody took the time to write this. And there's that joy of the inner child of going, we can fix these things. We really can. We are all just souls floating around in these skins, and it's going to take a little more time and integration. But if I'm committed to it, and I can help my kids be committed to it, and I can teach any other unicorns to be committed to it, we got a chance at this. And so it's really silliness helps me keep the positive and the hope and the potential. And so I want to share the silliness with everybody else.
Sounds great. I can't wait to listen. It might become a regular, because we need some positivity around here wherever we can get it. Where can people find you online?
Easy spots: unicornwellness.studio, tandygutierrez.com. I have 2 private Facebook groups for members of the site, so they can find me there eventually if they become a member of the site. And then on Instagram, so it's Tandy_Gutierrez. I am easy to find.
Awesome. Very easy. A lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. Thank you, Tandy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And best of luck on your incredible adventure that is around the corner.
You guys can follow it on Instagram. I'll be taking pictures like a mad mom.
I will definitely be following. I'm sorry I won't be running into you in Carroll Gardens after Tuesday, but maybe a year from now you're back there. Who knows?
Totally.
Or maybe I'll be in Spain in a year. Who knows that? Who knows that either? You never know. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate it.